everybody, Shav Nobody Else's Auto. We're back with a friend Jim Wicks at Meekum, Indy, to look at some more of these super cool Mustangs that a good friend of yours owns that he is selling on Friday. And we're going to look at another really special Mustang that, once again, as in the Jim Wicks world, you've had a really long history with this car and know a ton about it. So, tell us what we're going to look at right now.
We're looking at one of the 4 1966 Shelby convertibles that were built. They were done at the very end of the run. All 4 of them were consecutive serial numbers. All 4 of them are known today.
So they all still exist?
They all still exist.
Which is saying something.
They were done as promotional cars for Shelby American. The president of Goodyear had one. There was one of the members of a 60s rock group had one. The other 2 were just kind of hung around the airport for driver cars for VIPs that came in. And they were the only 66 Shelbys built with factory air conditioning.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of a unique thing.
So the couple of them, they were just literally the ones that left the airport were VIP cars. People come in when you bring them in. And
Yes. There were 2 4-speeds, 2 automatics. This is one of the automatics. This happens to be the very first of all of the 4 that were built.
And all 4 were different colors.
All 4 were different colors.
So there's one of each.
Green, and there's a green one, a yellow one, which never was a Shelby color. We don't know why that happened. There's a sapphire blue one, which was a 66 Shelby color, and the candy apple red, which was a 66 Shelby color.
And obviously we've got the green car here.
Yes, this is ivy green.
Okay.
And all of this, these cars were used for promotional things. And
so these were never mass produced. They were put out to Shelby dealers or anything like that.
No. And they were sold off basically privately to people that just happened to show up at the right time. They never went to a dealership.
It was never available to order.
Never available to order.
So they're a really unique piece.
Very unique piece. So this led into the cars that became. There was one 67 Shelby prototype.
Okay.
They didn't do a real production convertible until '68.
Oh wow. Okay.
But so this car led into the idea of a Shelby convertible, and even the possibility of a Shelby coupe, that's where Little Red came from, which is kind of a famous deal. It's owned by Craig Jackson,
right?
Craig Jackson auction company.
Which was an actual Shelby Mustang built on a Mustang coupe, not a fastback that everybody's familiar with.
And again, that car was also a mule car. Many things were fitted to Little Red that never got fitted to production cars, but it was a what if type thing. So lots of cool stories along behind, but getting back to this car.
And like some of these other cars, you've got a very long history with this car too.
This car, my father passed away in 1974. I had always wanted a Cobra. He left me a $10,000 insurance policy. I didn't have a dime. What am I going to do? My family really doesn't have a dime, but I'm going to buy a 289 Cobra because my father left me this money.
Which obviously, at that point in your life, probably made less than 0 cents.
It made 0 cents. But I've always been a little bit silly, so why not?
So it made sense at the time.
It made sense at the time, at least to me. And at least I conned my wife into that idea.
And I don't think there's anybody that's watching this video that's a car guy would probably argue with that point.
No, and I don't think any of those guys would argue with that. But, anyway, I ended up going to Wisconsin to buy my 289. And when we went there, it was wintertime. And it's very cold in Wisconsin in the wintertime for those that might not be familiar. But this car was stored, my car was stored in a building, and this car was right beside it. This car had just recently come back from California from a fellow up there, and he had bought it in pieces. But he did say that it was for sale. So my good friend, going back, had decided that he wanted to buy a 66 Shelby. So I talked him into the idea that if he wanted to buy a 66 Shelby, this might be the cool one to buy.
Obviously, with only 4 of them.
Yeah, well, at that time they actually thought there were 6.
Regardless, not very plentiful.
Yeah, they still weren't very plentiful. And so on our way home, between his conversation and mine, we talked each other into that was probably a pretty cool idea. And he should buy that. So over the period of the next year, I helped him restore this car. We put it back on the road, and from there.
And this is in 1975, 1976.
1975.
So you restored this car, and this is a 1966 show.
This is the car you see today.
This was a 10-year, not even a 10-year-old used car when you restored this car.
Right. And this is as you see it today, as it was restored at that time.
Really? So it is
untouched since that day.
Since the day you and your friend finished restoring this car in the mid-70s is what we see today.
Yes, exactly. Put the car on the road, went to every major Mustang and Shelby event across the nation, just for fun and entertainment. And we'd show up with this car and people would say, well, that's not real. They never built a convertible.
Even then, people didn't even realize what it was.
No thought of exactness for restoration. Who would think of restoring a car that was 10 years old?
Right, yeah.
You're going to do the car kind of the way it was, and maybe the way you wanted it.
Yeah.
The car never had over the top of line stripes. It was side stripes only.
Okay. So you guys added those in 75.
Added that. And, one of the things that was added was Jack, you want here. There's a lot of people that thought the Paxton supercharger was something really cool, and it was available as a Shelby option. So I had acquired a Paxton supercharger in the trade, in a trade with some stuff. So
you had one laying there on the shelf.
We just put it on this car.
That's kind of interesting.
We drove this car with the Paxton,
and this is all correct era Shelby Paxton supercharger stuff.
But what made this a little bit more complicated is normally the Paxton would be mounted over here.
But this car being one of the 4 convertibles with air, you obviously have an AC
I'm sorry, the Paxton would be mounted here, but the air compressor would be mounted here for the air system.
I see.
So this car, we had to build a bracket to move. So we've got, this car has dual air pumps. It's one for each, one for a different reason.
One for the engine, one for the passenger.
That's right, one for the engine, one for the passenger. But anyway, the car was always a lot of fun to drive. It performed very well. There's people that look at the car today and go, well, it wasn't restored very good. Well, because nobody cared. You know, this is actually shiny gloss black engine, which they were never that way.
But it looked better when you did.
It looked better when you did. So, therefore that's what happened. Anyway, we had a lot of fun with this car.
Oh, sounds like you ran the wheels off.
My relationship with John Aztbach developed. Of course, this car was in my hometown.
It was still there.
It was still in my hometown.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Jim, can you open that up for me?
We're doing.
Oh, excuse me.
We're hoping to possibly put a deal together. John can buy this car through a lot of due diligence and patience with John. He was able to do that. So this car got to go to the most observant home that it possibly could. And he decided they really didn't want to restore it because this was the car you could get in, turn the key, drive it any time. You could take your family out, go to the parade,
Really got hot, you turn the air on.
and you could always restore it. But just things like this you enjoy it. So I'm glad that he chose to do that so he could enjoy this car. He got to get a lot of miles on it.
I mean, for considering it was restored well over 40 years ago, it still presents very well.
Yes, if you look at the speedometer, that's how many miles that are on the car. Was actually, we had a new old stock speedometer around and just stuck it in.
Because back then you could find that stuff.
You could find, yeah, it was common at 40. This is the original seats in the car.
So the seats are original?
Seats are original.
They were never
to the car,
recovered?
Never recovered.
You just cleaned them up, bolted them back in,
Yeah, absolutely.
in 75.
Put a set of new old stock carpet in it.
And new old stock gauges, and so the 32,000 miles, it's
That
been,
is how many miles are on this car since the day it was restored.
it's got the under dash air box, and then the tack. Did that?
Yeah, that is a Shelby unique item.
So did this have the tack when it was built?
Yes, yeah, this was built with that tachometer from Shelby American. This mirror is uniquely Shelby with the bullet style. And of course the 10-spoke wheels. These are reproduction tires of the original tires that it would have come with when it was new. Bias ply tires, of course. But, the unique factor of all of the enjoyment this car brought so many people to see it.
Yeah.
Carol drove it a couple of times.
Oh, really?
He rode in it a couple of times. We actually, I do the Mid-America Ford and Shelby Nationals in Tulsa.
Which is a huge show in Tulsa for Ford guys.
One year when he came, we picked him up at the airport with his car. And he arrived at the show driving it. So
Oh, wow.
That kind of created a big hit. Again, this is just a car that so many people got enjoyment out of seeing, and the associative story to go along with it. And,
Well, especially when there were only 4 made. You couldn't buy one. You couldn't get
it
one.
wasn't like you couldn't buy one if you wanted to.
Right. You couldn't go to your Ford dealer or your Shelby and order one. They just weren't available. So the fact that all 4 still exist,
Yes.
and guys like you have the history and the knowledge of these cars, so that there's no discrepancies. This is what
No
they are.
discrepancy. And this is the only one of the 4 that still retains its original logo.
So this is the most original of the 4.
Yes. Yeah. So that has its provenance in itself.
Right.
Every body panel on this car is the original body panel.
Oh, wow.
So it has a huge amount of provenance.
Yeah, no kidding. And the only thing that was changed was the supercharger, which could always be changed back. So don't worry about it.
That's
Just-
a bolt-on, bolt-off.
It's still pretty cool. So you got a Paxton supercharger.
Absolutely. And you know, it was a true Shelby option. So.
Right. Yeah. It's legitimate and could have had it.
Right. So from that car, that leads into the red car, which was a factory supercharged car.
Well, maybe we'll have to do a quick video on that
So
car.
that is one of 11. There were only 11 factory supercharged cars in 1960.
Wow. Should we go talk about that one?
Well,
here in a
let's go
minute?
visit about that. Yeah.
Well, let's get this one wrapped up, and then we'll go talk about the red car that we can see right over there on the stand, which is another gorgeous car. And we'll pick a little more knowledge out of Jim's brain of because the Shelby and Mustang and Cobra knowledge just keeps pouring out of you. So,
I'm very blessed to get to do what I've done.
well,
So
and we appreciate you taking some time.
I'm happy to be able to share it with others.
Well, and I'm glad you're willing to take some time with us so that people can see it and share it with people. So once again, thanks a lot, Jim. We're going to wrap this one up. We've got a lot more cool stuff to look at and lots more cool stuff to bring you from Meek and Indy this year.